The best compliment an author can receive is for their work to be read, savored, relished, enjoyed, and owned by others. Once, thank you. Once we put our work out there in the world, it doesn't belong to us anymore. Do you know how hard that is? It's like you writing your exam papers and giving it up. Once it's out of your hands, it's gone. No matter how you come home and pray or how you come and wish, sometimes you even wish for the apocalypse, that the world would end before your teacher sees your paper. It's not going to happen. The same thing happens to us. We write and then we rewrite and then we edit. We do everything we can before we send it to the editor. And then the editor puts you through trauma. I mean, agree with me, disagree with me. So many writers here. They'll put you through so much trauma. Yeah? I want to hear from the writers. No trauma? Oh, this I want to hear. Trauma because when I say this, there might be spaces where you have to take off whole paragraphs. There may be spaces where you have to take off whole pages that you love. There may be things that you need to change. And the grammar. You have to work on the grammar because you're writing books for young adults. You're writing books for children. This is the first exposure you guys get to the world beyond your ken, beyond your families, beyond your school, way beyond. So the responsibility of an author who writes for children or young adults is very great. And once that is done, and everything is perfect, the cover is designed, the book is printed, and then it goes out into the world. And once it's gone, it belongs to everybody. It belongs to all the people who read the book, who take it, who own it, who read it, and like the students here at Sishya, under the guidance of Mrs. Ruhi, they also take what they have owned and share it with the world. They share the parts that they have loved. So I want us to put our hands together for Alina, Tejo Nandita, Sujan, Ananya, Akshara, Anish, Caleb, Durgashri, Yogesh, and Yuktashri, who are going to not just reenact, who are going to present the various parts of each of the 4 books that they loved. Can I have a loud round of applause, please? A loud round to be heard beyond the curtains. The stage is all yours, Mrs. Ruhi and performers.
Good morning, everyone. Today, we have amongst us 4 wonderful and awe-inspiring authors. To honor their uniquely interesting books, we, the students of Shishya OMR, will be presenting a small act based on these 4 works of wonder. Let me begin by asking you a question. Have you ever had a dream too big to pursue? Well, let me introduce you to Pinku, a little boy with a big dream and a bigger challenge ahead of him.
Hi, I'm Pinku Shegil. I'm a young 11-year-old boy and I love baking. Mixing up all the measured ingredients one by one and the heavenly fragrant aromas all around the house when done. There's something very soothing and therapeutic about baking. I dream of becoming a great baker and participating in the Great Junior Bakeathon. But sadly, my love for baking is a secret, a well guarded secret, because I'm scared of my disapproving eyes of my Papaji. Like any father, he has big dreams for his son, and he wants to make me an A shooter like my grandfather. However, it cannot deter me from my passion and making a go for the biggest competition of my young life. So, if you want to read a story about what you truly desire and making a go for it, if you want to read a story about friendship and being there for each other when the need arises, so if you want to read my story, be ready to dig into the pages of Pinku Shegel, Pastry Chef by Vibha Badra. Happy reading!
Moving on to the next book, that is Tales from the History of Mathematics, written by Archana Sarath. We have created a crossword related to this book. The audience can raise their hand to answer the question as soon as we finish reading the question. A microphone will be provided to whoever raises their hand first. Note that the answer to the question will be given in its jumbled form below each question. The answer to the question will be flashed on the screen after the correct answer is given. So, let's get started.
Let's get started. And the first question is, which was the book written by Aryabhatta?
Here, Mike here. Let me help you with that. A, B, C, D, E, F. Here's the answer.
Aryabhatta? Yes, that's the right answer. Well done.
The second question is, what helps save time and eases out the process of counting?
Tally marks.
Yes, that's the correct answer.
Moving on to the next question. Who was Ipiko's descendant?
You must repeat the question because you clipped.
Who was Ipiko's descendant?
Fibonacci.
No, I'm sorry. Anyone else?
Neerada?
Yes, that's the right answer.
Moving on to the fourth question. Who was the man that lived 40,000 years ago and created the first writings of mathematics?
Coming.
Ipiko? Yes, that's the right answer.
Moving on to the next question. Who is the Italian mathematician who created the Fibonacci series?
Fibonacci.
Yes, that's the right answer.
That kind of gave it away, huh?
The next question is, who was the first women mathematician in the history of the world?
Hypatia?
Yes, that's the right answer.
And the seventh question is, who was the pure mathematician who created the theorem for right angle triangles?
Here, the lady, the young girl here. She raised her hand first. Can you pass the mic to her?
Pythagoras?
Pythagoras. Yes, it's correct.
The eighth question is, who was the Indian mathematician who first calculated using zero?
Brahmagupta?
Yes, that's the right answer.
The next question is, who was the Greek mathematician who coined the word eureka?
Archimedes.
Yes, that's the right answer.
Moving on to the last and final question of the crossword. What was the one Indian historical site included in this book?
Here. You also? Come here. You answer. But
Indus Valley? Yes, that's the right answer. And this brings us to the end of the
Indus
crossword.
Valley.
Thank you everyone for participating.
come here, little one. Come here. We have the tiniest answerer also. All of you are slightly older scholars, but we have here, what's your name, love?
Risha.
Risha, which class are you in?
Third.
And what was the answer to the question?
Indus Valley.
Awesome! Can we have a big round of applause for Risha, please?
Moving on to the next book. If I ask you to think of a wild Indian species that needs saving, what comes to your mind? The Bengal tiger? The Asian elephant? Perhaps even the Ganges dolphin. But what about the glossy pink rosy starlings? The common monkey? Or even the butterfly? What about the animals we care too little about? What about the ones we forget? Well, let me introduce you to Wild and Willful by Neha Sinha. It is a book about the ones we fear and the ones we don't, the ones we harm and the ones we share the world with. This book showcases the bigger picture of wildlife conservation in India, touching upon conflict, gender bias, new age animal rights activism, and more. Here is a snippet from the heart touching chapter about Asian elephants, the obituary that will not be written. There is perhaps no large mammal that dies together so tragically as elephants do. In April 2018, the Bokaro Alapi Express caused the deaths of 4 elephants. Before that, in December 2017, 5 elephants were killed after being hit by a train in Assam. On closer inspection, what looked like 5 animals was actually 6. One of the elephants that died was pregnant. I thought of the monster thrashing about, losing breath, kicking in her blood, her fetus gradually losing oxygen. The unborn child would have died surrounded by panic, cortisol, and a deadening, defeating lack of air. Its tube for life had been severed by steel and speed. We plan faster trains, but speed kills wild animals that cannot be prepared for a giant hurtling towards them. A giant with greater length, faster speed, and that great ability to regenerate, which elephants don't naturally possess. The irony hits me like a train itself. Human families swear loyalties to each other by saying that they would die for each other. Elephants actually do. It is obvious that Neha Sinha has poured her heart and soul into writing this book. So I urge you to read this book and immerse in the world of the wild. Before we move on to the next act, try to imagine the life of a little 8-year-old girl. Now, imagine the life of a little 8-year-old girl who's an aspiring detective with a magical dog that accompanies her on her adventures to save the world. Well, this is the story of Zoe. Sit back and relax as we present a short scene from the book, The Making of Heroes, The Adventures of Zoe and Scruffy, Part 1.
What would you do if things disappeared from your doorstep? Would you stand up to a king if you thought he was a crook? Have you ever wondered how your dogs spend their free time? Meet Zoe the Fierce from Making of Heroes, The Adventures of Zoe and Scruffy. You see, when Zoe turned 8, she got 8 big things. She got to fly. She got to move into a new home in a new country. She got to fly by herself all the way from India to Europe with a teddy bear Gus, and a new home was picture perfect.
I love our new house, Mama.
Shall we get you unpacked, Zoe? Wow, what do you have in here? It weighs a ton.
Something wonderful. Here, let me show you.
Zoe, are you carrying a library in your bag?
No, Mama. These are the books that Papa bought me at the airport shop. They're the only best books ever.
Why, Zoe? These were my favorite books when I was a little girl, too.
Really? That's so awesome. These are my favorite books in the whole world now.
And then, while jumping in glee, Zoe declared, Nancy Drew is the world's greatest detective, Mama, and I'm going to grow up to be exactly like her. This is Zoe and the beginning of her story. To know what the future holds for this budding detective, dive into The Making of Heroes, The Adventures of Zoe and Scruffy. Happy reading!
That's the end of our performance. I would like to thank the authors of today for producing such truly enjoyable works of wonder. I would also like to thank the management, our principal, Mr. A. Robert Ravi, and Mrs. Ruhi Farhad for giving us the opportunity to present this act for you. Lastly, thank you to all my friends and fellow Intellect Club members, Akshara, Yukta, Yogesh, Sujan, Teja Nandita, Ananya, Caleb, Durga, and Anish for their cooperation and efforts towards putting forward this performance. I hope that we've instilled in you an urge to indulge into the wondrous world of reading. Thank you.
As an author and the authors here and literary lovers, I think they deserve a standing ovation. No authors ever had this ever before. Thank you so much, Intellect Club. Thank you so much, Sishya School. This is transporting. Thank you. Thank you so much. As the host for the proceedings, I'm forced to be impartial, but my heart is jumping in glee with Zoe and Reena and the narrator. I mean, come on, I can't help it. So now, and thank you for all the support while I was biting my nails, huh? All of you there. Thank you. Of course, I want to ask each of the authors that are featured here how they felt about this, because this is joy. This is just simply joy. And more than that, we should also dive into each of their books, into their worlds, into the motivation. And that's precisely what we're going to do. Before we begin the sessions, of which there are 4, how many times have any of you sat in class? This is for the younger and the slightly less young audience. When you've sat in the classroom and looked out of the window and you've been shouted at, how many times has it happened? Many times, right? Yeah? Yeah. So you get shouted at when you daydream, right? But authors get paid to daydream and night dream and dream. So like Shri Murari said, maybe many of you could become tomorrow's authors. But whatever the case, authors or doctors or engineers or whatever you want to become, software engineers, sanitation workers, whatever, reading is one of the most vital things that you will ever do. See, today, social media is everywhere. And people complain that the screens are taking over the world and reading has come down. Of course, the opposition would say that we are reading on screen and we are learning so much. But pause for a beat. Think about the people who are posting on socials, the ones that we admire and follow and like so much. They have explored their world. They have explored the worlds of others. They have read, they have learned. Whether it is in their own subject matter or it is eclectic, that is vast and wide reading, they have done that to be successful in what they're doing. So anyone who's dreaming of a career on screen also, it all boils down to reading. Alone we can travel one path, we can travel even 10. But when we pick up a book, with each book we're traveling at least 1,000 paths. We're meeting new people, we're going to new places, we're expanding our mind at a rate which is incredible. And if any of you don't have the habit of reading yet, that's only because you haven't met the right book yet. Your book, like your best friend, your first book that you fall in love with, is waiting for you. So anywhere you go on a holiday, when your parents plan to take you to all the touristy spots, ask to go to the local library. Visit every library you can. Meet as many books as you can. You'll find the one that you fall in love with. And then reading is going to become a part of you and your best friend forever. That said,